Hi, everyone. This is John Shallow and Michael Consoli from PlanMyCruise.com. And we're so happy to have you here. We know we've changed the times a little bit tonight. There's so much cruise news breaking today that we've actually had to change the schedule. That's how much is going on. But we're so happy that you're here, that we can share this exciting news. We've got news from Viking. We've got news from Norwegian. We've got news from Carnival Cruise Line. We've got news from Seaboard. The CDC is being pressured from all sides. There's so much going on. But please, we're going to let everybody come in the room. We're up to 12 people and more people coming. Once again, I'm John Shallow with Cruise Addicts, and this is Michael Consoli from PlanMyCruise.com. And there's so much news coming, so much news happening. Like we just said, breaking news from Viking Cruises coming out today. We're going to share with you. Michael's got some deep information on that. We've also got news from Carnival Cruise Line, Norwegian Cruise Line. We've got information about the CDC. We've got so much happening. And once again, thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here. Once again, we've got a comment here. Please write a comment below there. We're here. This is interactive. We want to hear your questions about any topics that we're covering. We want to know what cruises you have booked. We want to know everything. We don't want to hear about your vaccine problem, though. We don't hear about no vaccine things. We don't want to hear about vaccine complaints. I can't, but we still like you, though, so we don't hold no grudges there. But once again, thank you all for being here. Michael, how are you doing in PlanMyCruise.com world over there? I know so much is going on. It's like you just said, it's going to be a long day, isn't it?
It is going to be a long day. So I'm earning the gray hairs one by one, that's for sure. But today's news was, a double-edged sword, right? So we had major cancellations for June and July with Viking. We had cancellations of the Russian river cruises with Viking, Egypt. And so that was big. And then our big news was that they're going to start sailing some itineraries around Iceland and around Bermuda for June and July, which is very exciting. So, the cancellations, I think, are something that people anticipated, that we were waiting for. And, it allows us to start, helping our clients plan, their replacement trips. So.
Yeah, are you getting a lot of phone calls from people saying, well, I had this one booked in, later this year or even next year, but you know what, Bermuda sounds good, and they're trying to book those new opportunities right now?
The interest in Iceland and Bermuda, the new itineraries, is really incredible. I mean, to be honest, I think they're probably 50% sold. I know all of the suites, penthouse suites, the penthouse junior suites and the explorer suites and the owner suites are all sold. So that's really a big deal. If it gives any indication, though, it usually gives an indication of how well a ship is selling when the top end suites sell out. So I know that there's very little availability on the handful of dates they offered, both the Iceland and Bermuda cruises.
Okay. And what else did you want to cover with Viking? I know there's so much going on here. I think we talked about a new voucher policy. Did you want to talk about that now?
Yeah. So with the cancellations of June and July and the Russia rivers and some of the Egypt sailings, because the ships for Egypt will not be ready, some of the new ships, the vouchers that are issued, the new vouchers that are issued as a result of these cancellations are really only good for 2022 sailings. Whereas with the past voucher issuance, they were good, for 2022 and 2023. So the important thing to know is that if a guest that was canceled today and had existing vouchers on their reservation, those vouchers will be reinstated for the same face value that they were issued for originally, and they will be given the same terms as the original voucher, meaning you can use them in 22 or 2023 without any problems. If you were issued a new voucher today, in other words, if the vouchers that your booking was paid like with money or partial money that was added to the new booking, the recently canceled booking, those newly issued 125% vouchers that were issued today, those will only be good for sailings for 2022. So it's really, it is a little bit more complicated than it was in the past. And we've been helping our clients today figure all of that out and figure out the best way to apply those vouchers to new sailings. And, like a lot of people on the discussion boards, there are, our clients have multiple sailings. So it's very, it's actually a plus that they have two separate vouchers to use. But yeah, we've been helping our clients figure out the best way to utilize those vouchers, since there are going to be some differences between the two. So,
well, we got some comments going here. Let's take a look at that. So it looks like we're getting a lot from the group because their faces are blocked. Let's see. We've got one user says hi. Well, hello back to you. We're so glad to have you here. I tell you what, Michael, this might be our most popular live stream that we've done yet. I'm seeing 52 people in here right now watching us.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. And another person says, I'm fully vaccinated, which is great. I think it's a good thing. Let's see. And we've got a yes. So, and someone just asked so Carnival is not sailing until 2022. And from what I know is Carnival, we were actually just going to talk about that. Let me get a little banner up here, if you don't mind. We're going to jump to that. And what happened today, let me find it here where I wrote it. Let's see where I put it. Ooh, I thought I had it here. So, oh yeah, right here. So today, Carnival Cruise Lines announced that they're canceling June cruises for the United States, and but they also said for people that are booked for July that they'll actually extend the payment. The payment was going to come up to the final payment was going to be like end of April. And now it's going to be the end of May. And if the cruise actually follows through, you'll get $100 onboard credit. And so I think they're still trying to do that. There's been talk about them. They had said, the president had said that she wanted to stay in the United States. She didn't want to take the ships offshore like a lot of the different brands are, even other Carnival Corporation brands. But I think they're going to have to start looking at all different options. I know there's a lot of pressure. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure going on.
I think there's a lot of pressure to sail, but the Carnival guest, I think, is one that really is, most all of their ships are home ported in the United States. Very rarely does Carnival have a ship outside of the United States. When they do have a ship in Europe, it's usually because the ship is there for refurbishment or because it was built there, and then they'll offer a handful of sailings in Europe. But the Carnival brand itself, not particularly Princess and the other sister brands, but Carnival itself really is a U.S. ported company. So, they are probably not going to move to do what some of the other lines are doing, because their guest, usually drives to the port or is used to taking a short flight, not necessarily going, a far distance to board. So, and their sister brands are obviously going to have some offerings down the road. So, it really, with the number of ships that Carnival Corp has, it's probably smart of them to keep that as a U.S. ported opportunity.
Yeah, and they also, we just showed that video the last time we did a live stream from Port Carnival, where they had the roundtable with Governor DeSantis of Florida, and she was really, saying we're not planning to move our ships offshore. Like some of the other brands have. We're a U.S. cruise line. We have X number of ships close to port and driving distance. We also carry more children than any other brand cruise line, and we're America's cruise line. And so it was a great testament to the product of the brand and the guests that they carry. And but even now, I think every brand is being pushed to possibly rethink it, because they're kind of at a going around and around with the CDC and these new guidelines that came out, and it just seems like it's changing almost every day. As far as it seems like we're moving forward a little bit, but it's not. It's still being worked out, and I'm kind of trying to be an optimist. Hopefully that it'll work where it works out for the best for the guests as well as the cruise lines. I think it's getting there, and I know we can talk about that because there was another big announcement today from Norwegian Cruise Line. Norwegian Cruise Line CEO Frank Del Rio came out and actually said that Norwegian Cruise Line is going to open cruising, but all guests need to be vaccinated. So that's a major change in policy for an American cruise line. And he's actually kind of came out on CNBC today, and I can't show you the clip due to copyright things, copyright strikes, which isn't a good thing. But he came out, was on CNBC with Jim Cramer, and they put out press releases and stuff, and he's actually challenging the CDC, going, okay, hey, we're gonna have everybody's gonna be vaccinated, all the crew, all the guests. Tell me why we can't cruise from U.S. ports. And so that kind of shot across the bow has been taken. And I think a lot of the other airlines are kind of hesitant to come out with policies. I know Carnival really didn't want to say. I think they're trying to maybe have trying to just still work with the CDC. But that's what happened today with Norwegian.
Yeah, so they, like the other brands, are offering, cruises from alternate ports, Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean. I think they're also going to have a Greek Isles itinerary, like Celebrity, also doing the same thing. I know that we saw that Crystal will be doing cruises around Iceland, as will the announcement today from Viking around Iceland, around Bermuda. So, I mean, I just think that the cruise lines are ready to get back to it, and they don't want to wait for the CDC. So they're going to go around the CDC and see how that they can offer, these excellent products to their guests, for the summer, because I think people are anxious to travel. I mean, there's no bigger indicator today than the way that we saw those sailings, sell like hotcakes. The Viking, Iceland, and Bermuda sailings, sold so quickly today in one day. So, and Crystal experienced their highest booking day ever when they announced their sailings in the Bahamas. So I think we're going to see, a huge demand for these sailings, and all the cruise lines are requiring that there's vaccination, that people are vaccinated. For the 2 itineraries that were announced today, vaccinations are required. For the Viking itineraries, vaccinations are required. They will be required to be with a Viking tour guide when they're off the ship. So the included excursion, they can go off the ship with the included excursion. They can go off the ship with the optional excursions. But unless they're with a Viking tour guide on both the Bermuda and the Iceland itinerary, they're going to have to stay on board the ship. And that's just because they're trying to keep that bubble somewhat, intact. So, to keep their crew and their guests safe. And I think those people that are ready to travel are willing to take that limitation in stride and, go forth and explore. So I know that I am really looking forward to the 2 cruises I have planned on these new itineraries. So that's very exciting to me.
And this, it's wonderful that, it's wonderful that things are moving forward. If you're, I think, isn't this the first time that Vikings come out and actually said we're going to have vaccinated guests on board?
Yeah, and it was, I think that they realize that they have to do that. I don't think any cruise line really wants to say that, right? They don't want to take a stance on it because it's viewed so politically. But to be honest, I think that, people want to feel safe, and the cruise lines want to provide a safe environment, and they're going to do whatever they have to do that. I don't think it's a political statement. I think it's something that, the world really has to have in order to open up. So, I think they want to get going, as do the rest of us, right?
Yeah, and it's sad. It's almost, it seems to be just the safest default, because you don't have to worry. It cuts out testing, unless there's an issue. It really simplifies the whole thing for everybody.
Yeah, it really.
Like it or not, I know it's going to impact a lot of people. Like you said, there's a lot of folks. I mean, you don't have to look far, and I think anywhere in society, friends, family, coworkers, people on the Viking group and any group out there, the people are very adamant, either pro or for or against vaccines. They get it's almost like like I said, it almost is like a political statement. Like I said, I try not to get involved in that. Regardless, I think it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
But it seems like I think so. This is a big statement from Viking, and for those watching, like we all are, that this is probably where things are headed. And I kind of saw that with a lot of the brands. I think they were trying to. I think anywhere in society, friends, family, coworkers, people on the.
You hear yourself, right, John?
Yeah, I sound pretty good. No, I think that I think they were trying to do, do right by everybody and not have to maybe do a testing type of thing. But it just seems like it's going that direction. And so for people that want to cruise in the future, I mean, obviously we're very passionate about cruising, me and you and everybody that's listening. It's food for thought. So I get my second vaccine personally on Friday, and I'm not looking forward to it because people, unfortunately, there's, when you get that vaccine, there's some side effects to it for the second one, and I've got the Moderna one. But there's also there's also some of these other ones where you get one shot, and the effectiveness might not be as strong as the one that the Moderna one supposedly, but it's an option. And I know the age has been dropped down to like 16 for a lot of people, and that's rolling out too. So there's so many choices for everybody to come. Eventually, I think we're all going to have to make the choice, and how it affects you personally.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it is a personal choice, and I totally believe that. But unfortunately for me, like, it's not really a choice because I am dying to go somewhere. So I don't care. And John, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I don't care if I wrap myself in cellophane or wear a purple hat. I'm gonna go. So yeah. But somebody on the board asked about how do you prove that your vaccination status? So you will have to have your vaccine, your vaccination card from the CDC, which everybody is issued when they get the vaccine, and they will have to provide that in order to continue on their trip. So
yeah, looks like we got some more comments here. We've got a lot. I think the group really came out today, Michael. Thank you all for the Viking group and any other group that Cruise Addicts that we have. We really appreciate it. Oh, I see Barb Benham just jumped in. Hi, Barb. Maggie Hansen's here. We'll get to your questions here in a minute. If you haven't already, we've got literally Viking's global top producer, one of the top travel agents in the world, right here with us, Michael Consoli. So please ask him a question. If you have any need for any travel agent questions or anything like that, please ask him. And we're also going to provide his information below in a little bit, where you can actually, I'll put that out there right now. It's 1-800-913-7245 or michael@planmycruise.com, and of course www.planmycruise.com. Please contact Michael if you have any questions. You can contact him that way. But right now we have him live. I mean, does it get any better than this? We've got a live stream right here with Michael. You can ask him in real time. So please ask your questions below. Make a comment. Let us know you're here, and we'll go to these questions now. I think. Let's see here. We've got so one of the users from the groups asked, will Rebook trips retain onboard credits?
So it's really going to depend on what the onboard credit is, right? Where it came from originally. So if you had an onboard credit promo, in other words, if the promotion that you had when you booked provided like a $250 onboard credit or something like that, the answer to the question is probably not. If it was a promotion from Viking, that promo is going to revert to whatever today's promo is when you rebook. So, but if it came from, like with my clients, we provide an onboard credit gift. If it came as part of a gift, from your travel agent, most likely they will provide that same. I know we are providing the same amount of onboard credit that we provided when the guest was originally booked. So it does depend on the type of onboard credit. The third thing is if it was an accommodation for a sailing that you had an issue with, or there was a mistake or something like that, and it was issued through customer relations that you received an onboard credit, that onboard credit will probably be retained. But if it was a promotional onboard credit, like because you booked during the month of November of 2020, then no, that onboard credit is probably not going to be moved to the new booking because they, the 125% voucher they feel would make up for whatever differences there would be between the original pricing and the new pricing. And in most cases, that is the case. The voucher does overcome any differences. And there are a handful of cases, as we've seen discussed on the board, and some that I've helped clients with, that there are a handful of cases where that's not the case. But and the general rule is that it would cover that. So, But to answer the question, any onboard credit that we provided you, that would be provided, you know, that your agent provided or that I provided to you as a gift would be reinstated.
Great answer, Michael. Thank you. We're going to go through these questions. Michael, we've got like the most comments we've ever had too. This is like the best fight ever. We were kind of worried about this late time here.
Yeah.
So, but this is working out great. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. So let's see, we're going to go a little higher here. And this Viking group, I'm guessing, yeah, if this Viking group member wants to know, if I want to book one of the new Viking trips, can I call you to help me? And when should I call?
Yeah, absolutely. You should call me, and you can call me really anytime within reasonable hours. So I make myself, as John has heard me say 100 times, I make myself very available to my clients. You can reach me anytime, either by email at michael@planmycruise.com or on our 800 number, which is down below, 800-913-7245. But I do make myself very available to you and would love to help you either rebook or book your new trip. So thank you.
And it's funny you say that because I just saw someone comment on one of our other streams, and somebody said, I can vouch for Michael. He came through for me when you called. But yeah. But let him sleep, okay? I mean, he is, you know, he's a very busy guy. Try to keep it within business hours if you can, unless you're in Iceland or something. So we got more questions here. It's for another Viking group member. Thank you all for making a comment. So when y'all resume, I like that. I'm in Florida. You're in Georgia. So when
somewhere they're in the South somewhere. I can tell you that for sure.
So when y'all resume, everyone has to be vaccinated to cruise, right?
Yes, I live in Georgia, John, so I understand the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can answer it though. You got the.
So right now, the vaccination requirement really has just been issued for the two Iceland and Bermuda itineraries. There has not been a formal announcement about what will be required for the other itineraries when Viking resumes sailing. But I will tell you that while it might not be mandated by the cruise line, it may be mandated by the airline or by the country that you're going to visit or by the shore excursion company or, you know, some other entity besides the cruise line. So, but specifically when we talk about vaccination requirements, so far with Viking, we've been referring specifically to the Iceland itinerary and the Bermuda itineraries that were released today for June and July. So other than that, there's not been a formal announcement for vaccination requirement for the other Viking cruises at this time.
Yeah, okay. And the next question is, another Viking group member, how do you prove vaccination status?
Yeah. So just one follow-up on the last question, John. Everybody will be required to have been vaccinated on those Bermuda and Iceland itineraries, and that's important to note because, you know, I've received a lot of questions about vaccinations and people that want to travel, that want to be sure that people they're traveling with are vaccinated. So for right now, that requirement for Bermuda and Iceland, I think, is probably welcomed by most people because they want to know that the other people on board are also vaccinated. But going back to the question that you just posted, yeah, the CDC will provide you with a vaccination card that will show your vaccination status, whether you've had one shot or two shots, or, you know, which version you've had and all of that. So, and that's how you would prove your vaccination status. So it's a great question.
Yeah, you know what, while you've been talking, Mike, I'm thinking, you know, we've all been wondering, okay, what's going to happen? Is vaccines going to be necessary? And I think this is kind of like the indicator. Norwegian came out today, just for, if you were just joining us, Norwegian's come out today, Vikings come out today. Other lines have come out and said vaccinations are going to be mandatory. And so if you're on the fence about this, I think you might want to get that second shot, or you might want to consider getting a vaccine if you want to cruise. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're sharing news, and there's a lot of news today. And all indicators point that that's probably going to be the future. I think it simplifies things for the different government entities and the ports and the cruise lines. It gets rid of having to take your temperature 6 times a day or 6 times that week. And, you know, for the airlines, and I mean, it really simplifies everything. And we were wondering if that was going to happen. And I think now all indications are pointing towards that. Do you agree with Michael?
Yeah, I do. As I said, somebody's at some point is going to require it along the way. So, you know, I mean, look, I was just in Las Vegas over the weekend, right? I went a quick getaway with some friends, and you know, everywhere we went, they took our temperature. So every single place that we walked into, they had like the kind of temperature monitoring that we've seen when we get off the ship in China and Japan. You know, they have, you know, these cameras that can tell people's temperatures, and I mean, it was really amazing. And they're, you know, they're going to do whatever they have to do to protect their guests on the cruise lines. I anticipate that it will be the same way boarding these ships, you know, until this thing is over or we get it under control. So.
Yeah. So well, here's another. We got so many. So thank you all for the questions. We've always asked for questions, and we've got them today. This is amazing. So here's another Viking group member. It says, at this time, our December cruise is still on. Yeehaw. We're to the south today, aren't we, Michael?
Yeah.
This is awesome. And now we've got a member that actually is registered here. We got Maggie Hansen. Thank you so much for making a comment, Maggie, and joining us today. I like your icon. That's cool. So the second vaccine for us on Friday, Moderna. Me too. Woo-hoo. Same day. We're doing the same day, Maggie. So, and you're booked on Viking from Bermuda. Wonderful. You know, it's so exciting to know that that we're all going to get back to cruising. And thank you so much for that comment, Maggie. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, congratulations, Maggie. That's awesome.
And here's to future cruising. If I had to, well, I've got Duncan here. Here's to future cruising and good health. So, and then we got Barb Benham. Barb has been a longtime member of Cruise Addicts. And so happy to have Barb here. Barb says, I'm ready to cruise, getting my second shot in 3 weeks. Woo! Awesome, Barb. Barb, you have to meet Michael here. Michael's just amazing travel agent. Please spread the word. And so we also have Kathy Fowler. Kathy, thank you so much for making a comment. I love your family photo there. What a beautiful family. And she wants to know, what are the rules for Canadians wanting to cruise?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Kathy. I have to say that you know, the rules regarding, you know, Canadians traveling are really going to be dictated by Canada more than it's going to be by the cruise lines. I'm sure that the cruise lines will welcome you as long as you've been vaccinated for the summer cruises that we're talking about. I'm sure that the cruise lines would welcome any Canadians. But I'm not sure of what the travel restrictions are for Canadians right now. I know that, you know, they're not letting, you know, the cruise ships in this summer, and we're still waiting on them to allow U.S. citizens to travel in Canada. So I honestly, I'm not really sure, but I don't think there are any restrictions for the cruise lines to allow you to travel as long as you're vaccinated.
So I'm guessing if she can actually fly to a U.S. port or whatever port it is, and she can show her vaccination card from her government entity, then she'd probably be just fine, right?
Yeah, I think that for these two itineraries, like Iceland and Bermuda, obviously those countries would have to be open to Canadian citizens.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much for sharing that question with us. We really appreciate it.
A great question, Kathy, and I'm sorry I don't have a more definitive answer.
Because I know with my Viking cruise, we've had Canadians on board, Australians, people from the UK. So Viking's guests are, you know, all from those different areas. And we've got another Viking group member here. So Viking is going to sail from other countries.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, Viking sails, to be honest, Viking sails very few itineraries from the U.S. originally to begin with, right? So they have a Caribbean offering, a Panama Canal offering, 1 or 2 Panama Canal offerings. You know, they've had Alaska offerings, something out of San Juan. So, and the Eastern Seaboard cruises. But the majority of their cruises are from other countries anyway. Right now, they're going to be focusing on, for June and July, Iceland and Bermuda, because they've been able to get some agreements with those two countries to allow their ships to be there, their crew to be there, and, you know, for American citizens to travel there. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, we've got more comments. Let's see here. So we have, this is a good question. Karen Morrison joining us. Thank you, Karen. We appreciate it. Great to see your smiling face there. She wants to know, will our vaccine shot record be acceptable if we laminate our vaccine shot record? And I know that I can speak for myself. We're not the proper authority to probably answer that, but I personally don't see a problem with it, because I think mine is just kind of like shoved in a spot where it's ready for Friday. But I think it's a great idea to keep it protected, because it's obviously risen to a very important level here. And I don't think that anyone's going to have a problem with it, as long as all the face of it's clear and understandable. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, so I mean, there's been some discussion about that and whether or not you should have it laminated. I mean, I would highly recommend taking a picture of it and keeping it on your smartphone. And I'm not sure how legitimate that will be, but it would be very smart to have at least a copy of it on your smartphone. The recommendation that I've seen is to have a copy made of it and have that copy laminated, but not to laminate the original, just because if there's a third shot that's going to be required, like a booster shot or something like that, you would be able to use that same card. If the card is laminated, you're not going to be able to do that. So there's not been any definitive direction on the requirements for paperwork for the vaccine shot from the cruise lines. So my recommendation would be to leave it not laminated, or to laminate a copy of the card so that you have the original in its original form.
Wonderful answer. Thank you for your insight on that. And we've got another question. This is from Maggie Hansen. Hi, Maggie. Thank you all for answering. I think we got 2 questions from Maggie. Yeah, Maggie, 2 questions from Maggie. Thank you so much, Maggie. We've got, do you know the pools will be available to use?
Yeah, so I mean, it's our understanding that all of the entertainment and public spaces will be open on these cruises for use by the guests. I do believe, and it varies by cruise line, but I do believe that they will limit the number of guests on board. So they're not going to be sailing on these initial sailings that we're talking about in June and July at full occupancy, probably 50 or 60% occupancy. And so, that will limit the people by the pool. But yes, from what I understand, the pools will be open, the spa will be open. The things that people want to use on a cruise are going to be available.
And I'm just thinking, just to myself now, if everybody's vaccinated, there really shouldn't be these restrictions, in the short, over the long term here. It should kind of be normal, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what they're really working towards, is to make sure that that they're able to react if there's a reason why they shouldn't have some, part of the ship open or something like that. But I think that they're planning on operating as normal as they possibly can. I mean, I've had a lot of questions today about like the World Cafe and all of that and how that will be handled on board the ship. And, the truth is that 90% of what Viking serves, and this is specifically Viking, but it really will apply to most cruise lines, but 90% of what they typically serve in their Lido buffet is not self-serve. It's plated by, staff and handed to the guests. The only exception to that is that little hot bar, and it's not little, but the main hot bar. And most of the items on that thing will now be plated in single servings and handed to the guest. And what Viking does and their Lido buffet is a lot of their proteins that they offer, the steak, the salmon, the shrimp, the chicken, are grilled to order. They're cooked to order anyway. So, that part of what they offer won't change. But those things that are typically self-serve will be plated in single servings and, handed out by the staff on board from behind the counter. So I think that, that's not really that big of an impact on the overall experience. The dining room is going to be at a lower occupancy. Reservations are going to be taken for the main dining room. Anybody that's received a confirmation in the past few months will notice that the restaurant, which is their main dining room, the restaurant will now take reservations earlier than the specialty restaurants so that people can make their reservations before they get on board in the main dining room. And, so that part of the experience probably will not be as impacted as it would be on some other cruise lines. So that's all good news, I think, for the guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got here. Let's see here. Mute your mic for 1 minute. We've got more here. Let's see. Thank you again, Maggie, for that question. We've got Facebook user from Viking saying, thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This is wonderful. This is one of the most interactive times we've had here. Let's see, we get that mic open here. We've also got, will crew members be vaccinated as well?
Yes, their crew will be required to be vaccinated.
We got Sandy. I have to roll my mic. Yes, Sandy. Cheers and good health back to you and everybody else. And I know she had another comment. She's really excited about Viking Mississippi voyages. Michael, what can you share about that? I know there's so much going on here. Isn't the ship almost done?
Yeah, so the ship's going to start sailing in 2022. Very exciting. You know, a lot of the itineraries are sold out on the Mississippi. So, and I have people on a wait list. I think it was surprising how quickly the 14-day sold out. You know, I think we'll see some more of those in the next round when they issue the new itineraries. But yeah, it's very exciting to know that we would have a Viking ship here in the U.S. So
they look beautiful. They really do. And we've got another user here. And I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this, but I'll put it out there anyway. It says CarmD.io has an app that shows you confirm your vaccination record. I have no idea what that is. Have you heard about that at all, Michael?
I have not, but I was going to mention earlier that there are going to be some, you know, electronic forms of your vaccination record that will be able to be accepted. And but I wasn't really sure which ones those would be yet. So. But I'm certain that there will be some sort of app like the one that the guest mentions that can track that. So,
all right, well, back to this here. And yeah, I mean, there's been questions about it. There's a lot of states have come out and said we're not going to have vaccination passports, but I think that's still up in the air as far as what the government says. I've always said that it wouldn't be long before we have like in Florida, we have a little star on our
license.
Yeah, the license for the TSA.
Yeah,
you know, like our life, and so that's happening. So I won't think it, I think in the long run we'll have some kind of something to confirm that we have it, rather than walking around with this piece of paper.
Yeah, so I'm so afraid of losing that piece of paper. Yeah. So, John, there are a couple things I wanted to mention about the cancellations that Viking did today, specifically Egypt. I think if the Egypt sailings that were canceled specifically because 2 of the new ships are not going to be ready because COVID has delayed the ships in the shipyard. And so because of that, there is, you know, really slim availability for Egypt sailings on the remaining ships. So if somebody's cruise was affected by this cancellation for Egypt, I would highly recommend booking something as a replacement very soon. Also, that's going to apply to some of the ocean itineraries as well. For instance, Iceland's majestic landscape that's only offered, you know, 4 or 5 sailings in the summer. There's limited availability on those itineraries. And so it's really important that if you're interested in rebooking for 2022, that you do so soon. You know, some of the river cruises where you look at the itineraries, there's a lot of space left on river. But the more popular months like May, September, or the more popular shoulder seasons like the first 2 weeks of April, last 2 weeks of April or the first 2 weeks of October, those sailings are really well sold. So, you know, again, for people that are looking to rebook at the same time, at different times next year, maybe in the shoulder times, or to take advantage of some of the lower priced options, you know, you'd want to do that as quickly as possible. Same thing goes for Ukraine and Russia. Those sailings sell very fast. We've talked a lot about Russia sailings and how some of the cabins on the Russia ships have pillars that run through them and things like that. So you want to be sure that you work with somebody that knows the differences in those cabins, and then make sure that you get a cabin that is pillar free. And most people don't know that those ships are owned by the Russian government, and Viking has rebuilt them from the ground up, and So, but because of the age of some of the ships, they're designed differently. And so some of the cabins have these pillars that run through them. That's something that's really important to work with somebody who knows that kind of thing. And same thing with the Ukraine ships. They have the same issue. So, you know, but if you're looking at an itinerary that's limited in time that it's offered, those are the ones that you really need to book as soon as possible. So if you're flexible with your dates and you can go, you know, at a different date than you had booked this year, then you probably can wait. But if you're looking to rebook for 2022, I recommend doing so as quickly as possible and still being able to take advantage of Viking's risk-free guarantee, which has now been extended again through the end of April and allows the guest to cancel up to 14 days prior to departure. In this round, the newest version allows the guests to cancel up to 14 days prior to departure and get 100% in the form of a future cruise credit. Previous rounds allowed you to cancel up to 24 hours prior to departure and get 100% in the form of a future cruise credit. So it's a really great way to overcome the fear of whether or not your sailing is going to sail, you know, or be canceled because of COVID, or if you're not going to want to go because you might have to wear a face mask. That's really an alternate option, is to be able to cancel under that risk-free cancellation. So just want to encourage people to book as soon as possible, because now we're combining almost 2 years of demand into 1 year. So the availability is becoming slimmer and slimmer.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big rush.
Yeah. And you're going to combine that with, you know, pent-up demand, which is crazy. I mean, today's any indicator. I mean, we are not going to have anything to worry about as far as business goes when things really, really open up. So
we've got one more. If you have a question you want to ask, if you have any comments you want to make, please make them now, because we're just about to wrap up our live stream here. Thank you all for so many questions. If you have any more questions or comments, please write them down. We'd love to get to them before we leave. But here's one more from someone from the group. And it says, I see that the departure countries are requiring a negative COVID test before traveling to that country. Can I assume that this requirement will change beyond the summer sailings as the pandemic numbers improve?
Well, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I don't think, you know, we can assume anything, right? I mean, there's just nothing has been predicted. So, you know, I think for now, until the vaccine is more prevalent throughout the world, more, you know, better distributed, you know, a negative COVID test is probably going to be required. The plus side of that is that I think you're going to be able to get a negative, you're going to be able to get a COVID test at McDonald's if, you know, things continue the way they are. So, you know, I mean, it's offered at the airports. We have a lot, we obviously work with a lot of all-inclusives in the Caribbean, things like that. And all those hotels are offering the negative COVID test to come back to the US. Obviously, if you've been vaccinated, that's not going to be a requirement anymore. I think the vaccination is really going to change a lot of the requirements as it becomes more prevalent. But right now, it's hard to assume really what will happen. But I mean, it's just, I think, a safe assumption to, you know, as the vaccine becomes more widespread, that they will not require that as much. But if it is required, it's going to be readily available to you. So.
And I think you touched on the vaccine. It's mandatory. They're not going to ask for it.
Right.
Yeah, so that solves that problem. So we've got a few more things. Okay, just to touch on some of the stuff earlier here we were talking about. I want to sit there and touch on here. Let's see. The Norwegian Jade is going to start sailing from Athens in July 25th. So that's the new announcement that came out today.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
And then we've also had, this is kind of a surprise, but they're also going to home port out of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Enjoy a great ship.
Yeah.
For August.
Yeah. So one of their newer ships going to be sailing out of Jamaica, which is very nice. Going to the Western Caribbean.
Yep. And then we also have the Gem, which is an older, but that gives you some options for August 15th sailings.
Yeah, from the Dominican Republic doing Eastern Caribbean. So that's exciting too.
Yeah. And then I also want to show us, you know what today is, Michael?
No, I did not know that it was National Food Faces Day.
Yes, it's National Food Faces Day. And if Master Chef Rudy Soderman, here he is with his food faces. And Chef Rudy's just a wonderful guy. Let's see if we can get this to pull up here. Let's see, I haven't used this much. Let's see. Yeah, he's a wonderful man, very talented. He's got restaurants on board the Holland America ships and also the now Carnival ship. So we got so much going on, and we've got one more. Like I said, if you have any questions, please ask them. Will Viking provide the return to the U.S. test from Iceland? I don't think you need it though, do you?
Yeah, I don't think if you're vaccinated that you have to have the test, but I will say, and this is a great question because I wanted to follow up on the last question. I know that Viking is committed to testing people anyway. So yes, I mean, if you have to have a test, they will provide the test. But I doubt that people who are vaccinated to return to the U.S. are going to be required to have a test. But if they do, that test will be provided, and they will be providing testing on board all of their ships. So when the others start up, as well as the ones for the summer. So the person who asked the question about the testing will actually be, and a lot of the cruise lines are requiring testing before you board. So for instance, in the celebrity cruises that are leaving from St. Martin, the guests on those ships will have to provide their vaccination papers, or they will have to, for children, anybody over the age of 18 has to provide vaccination documentation. Under the age of 18, they will have to have a COVID test when they board, and then every day after that. So it's going to be very well protected, I think, if you travel on one of the cruise ships this summer.
And I don't know if we should cover this or not, that Greece is going to be open to cruises for U.S. guests as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have so far Celebrity, Norwegian, I believe Royal Caribbean will have a ship. So there's going to be a lot of options out of Greece for the summer. Greece is open to you, will be open to U.S. guests, or has been open to U.S. guests, as has Croatia. So very nice.
I think, was it Seabourn that came out today and made an announcement?
Yeah,
they did as well. So if you're looking for a luxury cruise, Seabourn's offering something right now. And the nice part about it is you can get out there and get cruising, but you most likely will have to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Apparently that's happening here. So Michael, we covered so much. We've got 47 minutes. We've been having a live stream here. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to share with anybody before we leave?
No, I think we covered a lot. So, and I always love answering people's questions. So, I will be sure to check the board after, just to see if there are other questions that come up.
And then a user actually said, it says the U.S. requires return tests before boarding airlines. But I wonder if they just also ask for a vaccine card, though. I don't know. I guess it depends on your situation, huh?
Yeah, I think it depends on the requirements, but it says that the newest thing from the CDC said that that the CDC does not require testing unless your destination requires it. So I don't know that there's any requirement for return to the U.S., but there's no requirement to self-quarantine. So I would have to say that a requirement to be tested is when the CDC has said that people that are vaccinated should feel comfortable traveling.
Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions here. I think we've covered so many things. I want to thank everybody that made a comment. It was great to hear from Sandy and Maggie and Kathy and all these wonderful people and all of the Viking group members. Thank you all for taking the time to join me and Michael here. It's, like I said, it's an extreme honor and a privilege to have you all here.
John, sorry, one more thing. So I didn't state that properly, that it's not required to have a test to leave the U.S. To any international travel destination unless that destination requires it. But it is required to come back in that they have a negative test, and those tests will be provided by the cruise line. And as I said earlier in the conversation, the all-inclusives are also providing those tests for return. Has to be within 3 days of your return before, you have to have it within 3 days before your return. So,
does the vaccine card trump that though?
It doesn't. It does not. According to the guidelines from the CDC, it does not trump it. You still have to have that test, and those tests again will be provided by the cruise line you're participating with, and most of the all-inclusives are providing them. In destinations where the all-inclusive is not providing them, they are providing places where the guests can get the tests. But the statement that you have to have a negative COVID test to return to the United States is correct.
Okay, I'm learning something every day. And that's why Michael Consoli is one of the top agents in the world here, and a global top producer for Viking. 5 years in a row, right?
Yeah, 5 years in a row.
Right, wonderful. So if you have any Viking questions or anything, any cruise questions, please call him at 1-800-913-7245, or you can email him at michael@planmycruise.com, or you can visit his website at www.planmycruise.com. He'd love to hear from you. Any questions whatsoever, please contact him as soon as you have that question. So any final thoughts, Michael?
No, but thank you so much. I always enjoy these, and I hope that people find them helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I think I can speak for both of us. We're so excited the cruising's starting to get back that you all will have something to look forward to. I get so excited. I've got one booked for July. I don't know if it's going to come happen or not, but we just feel so excited to know that pre-cruise stage of having something on the books. So have a wonderful night. Thank you again, Michael. And we look forward to hearing more about your future cruises. And have a wonderful day. Happy traveling. Bye-bye.
Bye.